So Lucas has been on a tear, and I'm not even gonna bother trying to respond to everything, partly because I have a life, and mostly because he gets repetitive anyways, so what's the fucking point? So yeah, I'll be trying to cut out as much as of his video as possible, just because, like I said, he gets very repetitive, so I don't need to keep it all. I'll keep what is probably most entertaining, though. The audio quality is going to be different than usual. The new MacBook I got doesn't have a USB-A port, so I can't plug in my microphone. So until I get a dongle, which I forgot to do, unfortunately, um, we're going to use internal mics, and here's how they sound. I don't know if they're any good, but I hope they are. Oh, here is a comment that Lucas left on one of my videos. I'd like to point a couple things out. My girlfriend is very surprised to hear that I have all these other girlfriends. Not as surprised as she was to hear that I live in Spokane, a place I've never been to, in a state I've never been to, or that I sell or use LSD to make women do my bidding. I didn't know that was a thing. So that's interesting. Or that I'm named JT. That came as a surprise. So yeah, we're actually both very surprised about all these things that you've told me about myself, Lucas. Uh, I do love learning, especially learning about me, and usually I have to learn that stuff from me. So it's very exciting. So yeah, just want to throw that in there. I think I'm actually going to make this two videos. One will be much shorter than the other. This one I'm going to dedicate just to the capitalism thing because there's a lot of content there. So, yeah.
Screw the minimum wage being set to $15 an hour. We ought to rise up and demand all corporations be reorganized as cooperatives. Why? Because this is what CEOs make an hour. JC Penney, $4,629 an hour. Chipotle, $13,000, $489 per hour. Dunkin' Donuts, $4,889 an hour. Domino's Pizza, $3,571 an hour. Wendy's. You really think the CEOs work harder than the people at Wendy's? Are you stupid or something? $3,465 an hour the CEO of Wendy's makes. Walmart, $2,704 an hour. Starbucks, $10,285 an hour. Macy's, $7,904 an hour.
Yes, what CEOs make an hour does sound outrageous. And to some extent, it might be. However, the reason CEOs get paid that much is because they've earned it. A, C, a bad cart pusher at Walmart might inconvenience that store, but there's very limited damage they can do. A bad CEO of a company can ruin it, can completely destroy it, so everyone in it eventually loses their job. You don't believe me? Look at any company where a CEO change has turned them around. Apple, for example. I own many Apple products. Apple was going under. They were doing terribly until they brought Steve Jobs back and he righted the ship. DeWalt and Black& Decker were doing horribly. Well, actually Black& Decker was doing horribly, and then I forget, God, what was his name? I've met him. The CEO that took over at that time acquired DeWalt and turned both companies around and made them profitable. A CEO does a lot more work. They're a lot more valuable. The work they do is far more important than your average bagger, for example. I'm not saying the bagger doesn't deserve, a living wage, but the CEO definitely deserves to get paid a fuck ton.
What the fuck?
Okay, I know I said I was going to cut out as much nonsense as possible, but I had to leave that full minute in there because I have no understanding of it. And I just thought one of you might be able to explain what the fuck that minute of his life and ours was for. Like, what did that achieve? I don't know.
The hallmark of capitalism is poverty in the midst of plenty.
I distinctly remember there being, I think the technical term is a metric fuck ton of poverty in every single communist society that has ever existed. Let me think. Cuba? Yep. Yep. I mean, they did fine for a little while during the sugar boom that they were going through until beet sugar eventually destroyed that market. And then there was the whole, I'm not going to get into it. And, when Soviet Russia collapsed, they could no longer pay their bills, pay Cuba's bills, so they went under. Let's see, Soviet Russia, yeah, a lot of poverty, a bunch of it. Um, China, yep, yep, a lot of poverty and death. So much of that. Um, hmm. Yeah, I can't think of any of them where there has not been incredible amount of poverty. That's weird. Oh, wait, I get it. So what you're implying is that the hallmark of communism is poverty in the midst of fucking nothing. Just fuck all, right? That's the implication there. That's literally the only thing you could be applying because anything else would be fucking stupid.
People think they're so smart when they blame the Jews.
Who? Who's blaming the Jews? Stormfront, sure. But I mean, other than white nationalists, literal Nazis, who's blaming the Jews? That's weird for you to even say or to bring that up because it's not a thing that people are doing.
You don't make $15 an hour. You make hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of product an hour. You didn't make anything for yourself. You sold an hour of your life and your body for $15. Don't let them convince you otherwise. Your labor value is getting stolen. Profit is theft.
It's fucking not. And this is one of those quotes that convinced me I should make this because it's so breathtakingly stupid. It should be addressed by someone, and I'm someone, and I can't make anyone else do it, so I guess it has to be me. So we're just gonna take this and move right on into the next video because he basically says the same thing there and explain all the reasons it's wrong.
All right, fuck it. I got a minute. Let me explain to you how capitalism sucks.
Okay, he's gonna say this and deliver this as though it's his original thought, but he literally posted a meme, not by him. It was something he got off of Twitter, which says almost the exact same thing. So, and he's just passing it off as his. So that's plagiarism. Uh, Word of advice, Lucas: if you're going to plagiarize something, don't post the source on another part of your social media. It seems to go without saying.
Let's say you're bagging groceries.
What am I begging the groceries to do? Is it to be free? Is it to get in the bag? You know, is am I begging the groceries to cooperate with the person bagging the groceries? Is that what I'm doing? Is that how that's working?
Let's make it simple. You're bagging vegetables. And don't worry, I looked up all the numbers for this, so I'm correct.
He's not correct. And by looked up all the numbers, what he means is he read that Twitter post that I mentioned earlier.
A bag of vegetables is going to cost like $4. So you could bag like 300 bags of vegetables in an hour. In Washington State, you're going to make $12 an hour doing something like that, bagging vegetables for a grocer. But the company is going to make how much? $1,200 on your labor, but you're only going to make $12 on it. And that's why capitalism sucks, because they're stealing from you. Profit is theft.
And now we get to the full blown stupid I was trying to reach before. Profit is not theft. And this whole thing demonstrates how little you understand about economics or can even think about money or economics or indeed how anything works. Let's say you bag groceries. You make $12 an hour. Okay? Company pays you $12 an hour. You say they make 1200, but they don't. They don't actually make 1200. Do you know why? Because they don't just have to pay you. They have to pay the checkout clerk, cashier. They have to pay the person stocking the shelves. They have to pay the person who cleans. They have to pay the person who unloaded the truck. They have to pay the person who loaded the truck. They have to pay the person who loaded the boxes to load the truck. They have to pay the person who drove the truck to and from where it had to go if what you're getting is imported. They have to pay the people who drove and loaded and unloaded all those trucks and or planes and or ships. They also have to pay for electricity and running water and heating and maintenance for all those things and replacement parts for any of those things that break. And they have to pay for insurance and they have to pay for lawyers for when they get sued by morons like you. They have to pay for security. They have to pay for security cameras. They have to pay for shelving. They have to pay the farmer who picked it, who also has to pay for gasoline and um, his farming equipment and the hands that they hire to help them pick things if they still do it that way. Usually it's machined now. So it's not just you, right? It's not just you they're paying. You're not the only one who's getting a share in that $1,200. There's a lot of cogs in this whole operation, and every single one of them needs to be greased by money. So, yeah, I feel like my 12-year-old nephew could have figured this one out pretty easily without me even having to tell him all of these things to take into consideration. The fact that you and people like you think, oh, they're getting $1,200, I should be getting $1,200, proves that you cannot see past the end of your own nose, and the only person you think of, the only person who matters to you, is you. I mean, even in your own example, you're bagging groceries. I can tell you from experience, because I used to do this, If I'm sitting there bagging groceries, I can see the fucking cashier. I can look right at him. For you to know that you can look right at them, I mean, you don't because you haven't fucking worked a day in your life. To know that you could just look right at them and be like, you know what, fuck them. I deserve all the money because I'm doing this one little part of the fucking job, right? That to help this entire company run. And that's without considering all the other people I've said and the cart pushers and the buying the carts that they're going to need to do and replacing those when they break and the CEOs and HR and you know training and the the like in the grocery store example, the deli department has their own things they got to do and the butchers and all that. There's a lot of people who need to get paid out of this. It's not just you. The fact that you can't see that is extraordinarily telling.
80% of millennials and 90% of Gen Z are leftists. That means that they support either socialism, democratic socialism, communism, or anarchism.
About a month ago, it was 50% of Gen Z and millennials. And before that, it was 90% of both. So, of your three choices so far, which is it? And do you have any sources to back your claims? Because pretty sure I remember someone bearing an unfortunate resemblance to you saying
Evidence or fuck off.
a few hundred times.
Greta Thunberg is definitely an ANCOM. Look at the shirt, the Antifa shirt. You've seen the Antifa shirt where it's the red and black flag. That's where I am politically. I think that if we had a direct democracy without politicians,
A direct democracy with no politicians would be fucking stupid because it abandons the simple principle that we've thrived on called division of labor. The reason we have politicians is so we have people who can write laws and vote on them and do all the things we can't or won't do because we have lives and jobs and other interests, and we put all that on them. That's it. The same way we don't, the same reason we have bakers and firefighters. Not all of us can do that. Not all of us want to do that. So we pay them to do that. It's very simple.
and all businesses were run cooperatively, where everybody was just paid the same wage, it would be a better system. Money is really nothing more than numbers on a computer screen.
Physics is really nothing more than numbers in the world or on paper. But if you do them wrong, bad things happen. Shit doesn't work out. Stuff breaks down. Same with economics. Just because money is really an abstract concept that's subjective, whose value is subjective, and we, you know, don't have any objective value to go with it. Even gold, even if I had the gold standard, we've just assigned value to gold. That doesn't mean you can just make the numbers whatever you want. It doesn't work that way.
And sure, there's different types of sperm. There's the long, short, and the medium sperm once you get older. But those long sperm, those long DNA sperm, the sperm with the strongest flagella, are the fastest swimmers anyway. And 45 is the high point of the fastest swimmers. They're also the strongest swimmers, which means if something gets in their way, they could knock it out of the way. They could penetrate the egg harder. It's like when you get to a certain age, when you get to be about 45 years old as a male, your sperm has three different types: the Special Olympics, the regular Olympics, and just regular people. Well, if you put the Special Olympic sperm with the regular Olympic sperm and the regular people, the Special Olympic sperm and the regular people sperm are not going to reach the egg first or penetrate the egg the hardest.
Okay, so you've already proven you're misogynistic. You've done that so many times. You've already proven you're racist and everything. Now we get to ableism, which is great. Not that you're ableist, but that you're proving it. Again, it's something you've done a lot. But here we are. Let me explain this to you slowly. Athletes in the Special Olympics are still athletes. And someone who is untreated diabetic with a numb foot that he can't actually walk on, who gets winded after 40 feet, probably shouldn't disparage actual fucking athletes. Also, that isn't how insemination works. Fastest swimmer, strongest swimmer, that isn't actually how that works. You're on YouTube. I suggest you go look up a 6th grade video on how insemination works so you actually understand the process, because you do not.
So if you combine those two age groups, the high telomerase in the egg, the high telomerase in the sperm, it would logically create the strongest possible DNA in a child.
So we want the most telomerase. I think I've heard a counter argument for that before. You know what? I think it's time to bring on a special guest who has quite a lot he'd like to say about that, but I'm going to make him keep it as simple and straightforward as possible. Would you like to chime in, sir?
The Hayflick limit should also be noted because if you have two people together that are under the age of 35, they have more telomerase, which brings you closer to the Hayflick limit, which is the limit to where the anti-aging chemical that keeps you young starts growing cancer cells and leading to depression, stress, and anger.
That's what I'm saying, people. No matter what job you have, it's either going to be a job that you find fascinating or a job that you can do with the skills that you have. Then you may not need more training to do those jobs. That's why we should just pay everybody the same wage to do any kind of job, whether it's a dog walker or someone who works the counter at 7-Eleven.
Paying everyone the same wage is fucking stupid, because not everything that everyone does is worth the same thing. It's not a dog walker does not create the same kind of value as a CEO or a steel worker or a construction worker or a teacher. They don't. So they do not deserve the same amount of money. That's not to say they don't deserve a living wage. They do. I am all for raising the minimum wage. However, people get paid because the work they do equals a certain amount of value added to the society they're in. And someone like a babysitter or a dog walker, while their job I'm sure is important to some people, the value they add, the importance they have in terms of economics and society are not as big. Their value isn't as worthwhile, and their impact isn't as big. It's just how it is. As a more personal example, I'll use my own personal experience. Working at an organization I used to work at a couple years ago. I think this will illustrate my points pretty clearly. When I worked at this organization, I had about 5 to 6 people working under me at any given time, and I was paid more than them. I was given more than them because the work I did was more important. The skills I had, and still have, but my skills, my training, my value was far more important. It was bigger. It was more valuable. If they didn't do their work, for example, if they dropped the ball, which did happen, it inconvenienced me, but everything was fine in the end. I just had to work a little bit longer. If I dropped the ball and didn't do my work, everything ground to a halt. I was more important than they were. The work I was doing was more important than they were, and I was doing more work than they were anyways. Not only that, I had vastly more skills than they did. I Not only that, I had vastly more skills than they did, doing the same job they did in many cases, but doing more, scheduling when they were going to work, what they were going to be doing, acting as teacher to them so they could learn various skills. I also brought in more value in the form of more notoriety and more awards for this particular organization than they did, more, well, anyone else on the staff did. So I was more valuable. Not only that, they had incentive to pay me more because not only had I been there longer and done more work anyways, if they didn't, someone else would. And I could just leave and go make that organization better rather than the one I was at. So they had an incentive to keep me. This is what you don't understand about workplace hierarchy and someone being paid more than someone else. Probably because you have no skills and you bring no value to anywhere you go. If you start any job right now, you would start as and remain the most ineffectual person there because you have no talents, you have no skills, you have nothing. I mean, I'm not even saying this to be mean. It's just true based on everything I've seen you do.